when you have so much trauma, that's just what, I don't know, just kind of like takes up your experience, right? It
Yes, and almost like plays in a loop in because you just want to be safe. Like your body and your mind, they just want you to feel safe. So they're warning you to be on high alert because nothing's safe.
Strangers with Kittens. Gen X stories from the least parented generation.
Hi, it's Eileen. Welcome to Strangers with Kittens. Before we jump into our next episode, I just wanted to give you a heads up that it's a little off the beaten path. I discovered my next guest on TikTok and Instagram and loved her content so much that I went to her website and read all that I could and listened to some podcasts that she had been a guest on. And I'm so happy that she's here. Um, I'm going to share something about my family that I haven't in the past. And I'm going to do that because I like my guests so much. And I think that our conversation is valuable. I hope you get something from it. I hope that if it doesn't pertain to your particular personal journey, that if you have a friend or a loved one who might benefit, that you'll pass it along to them. But I'm excited for you to hear it. I hope you like it. It's a little gift from me to you. So, without further ado, I'm Eileen Kelly. Welcome to Strangers with Kittens. I am here with Yale University trained scientist, medical strategist, and autism parent, Dr. Teresa Lyons. Welcome, Dr. Lyons.
Thank you for having me. This is
Yeah.
going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Good. So we spoke in the past. I had so many questions and so much to say that I was like, I had to stop myself and be like, no, wait, we need to save this for when we're recording. So I'm going to let everybody know a little bit about you and get rolling.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so Dr. Lyons has a website, Autism, AWE as in awesome, autism.net. I love that. I love that spelling so much. And it's actually called Navigating Autism, but the website is autism.net. And there's so many wonderful resources on there. I mean, I've spent quite a lot of time. I've signed up for your mailing list
So,
and have learned a lot. This is something I don't think shared yet with listeners, but my youngest is on the autism spectrum. And I don't talk about my kids that much. And talking about something like that can feel a little scary. And I know I've spoken a lot about parenting on here, but not the extreme parenting that's
Great
that's
parenting. Yes.
required, right?
Oh
It's
my
like
goodness.
the X Games, but for parenting. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I talk sort of generically about parenting. I have twins, two older kids that are twins, and then I have my youngest who's on the spectrum, and each one was sort of a different experience in parenting, because parenting twins is its own thing. But I really I hope you don't mind me saying, because I think you share this also on your website, that you have a daughter who's on the spectrum,
Correct.
and that sort of was instrumental in inspiring you to do what you do.
It's the only reason. Definitely,
Yeah,
it's beyond. Though she was beyond the inspiration. I
yeah,
was a medical strategist. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry in many different therapeutic areas, but never autism. And the only reason why I got involved in autism was because she was diagnosed with it.
yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention,
Yep. Oh goodness, yes.
and parents, but mothers in particular, where there is no path, we make one, right?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the whole reason I got in this was when she got her diagnosis, and as a medical strategist, I was expecting to have all these different options. Give me the chessboard, right? I'm a strategist in the healthcare industry, right? I
Yeah,
know what
like, I
kind of
get
pieces.
this. Right.
Like, all right, give me the pieces and let me see what the combinations are, right? So I was expecting, gold standard approaches, give me the cutting edge therapies that are in the different phases. And so, when I asked, all right, what do we do? It just came back, well, there's not really much you can do. Typically, it gets worse, not better. There's some medications, but that's really only to target irritability. It doesn't help necessarily. It just makes things, tone it down a little bit. And
Mhm.
there's different behavioral things you can do, but there's long wait lists, and it's very tedious. It takes a really long time to teach someone with autism, and that was it. And it was just that is
You're on
not a
your
good answer.
own.
Like,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
not like, no, and
That's
I
no
could
answer at
never.
all, really.
Exactly. It's not an answer. So that's where everything started was, okay, I need to come up with an idea of what autism is. I've got to understand it, at the molecular level. So I'm a chemist.
Right.
I worked in R&D, so I like biology, X-ray crystallography, right? So I'm thinking about things very, very differently. And that's what I needed to come up to speed on and really understand and then make decisions for my daughter, but using quality information and cutting edge, not, 20, 30 years old.
Mhm. Was it difficult getting a diagnosis for your daughter? Because my youngest is Black. Children of color are notoriously underdiagnosed with autism, and female children as well are notoriously underdiagnosed, and I wonder if
Yeah.
you found that.
So a reliable diagnosis for autism can be made at 18 months. Now, my daughter was diagnosed at 3.5. So I was
Mhm.
definitely, the average is about 4. So it was kind of on the average side. But really what took us so long was eliminating everything else. Right? So autism, the diagnosis is based on observation, right? So you want to make sure you do enough genetic analysis, right? So it's not some unique genetic disease. You want to rule out hearing problems, vision. Like there's so many things to rule out, and that
So
all
many
takes time.
things.
Oh my
So
gosh,
much
so many
time.
things. Yeah, different tests, different specialists, and
And you're
and
waiting on people, and
oh my.
they're booked out for months.
Exactly, and that's really one of the things that can push back the diagnosis. But for females, there is that element of masking. So when a female has a higher level of daily living, a lot of times they're masking. So females are watching socially, okay, what happens, and then let me just mimic that. And what happens is like that pressure builds up of having to imitate so much. And then that's when different behavior problems become prevalent. And then that's really when parents start to seek a diagnosis because, again, right, it's observation. It's like, whoa, something is going wrong here. And then that's a lot of times what triggers the autism exploration.
Mm.
But it certainly is frustrating that diagnoses, and for Black children as well, the diagnosis is typically on the average later. Um, Although I will say pediatricians are screening children more and more, like, it's now built into the well care visits, but again, it takes so much time. Just because your pediatrician flags something does not, mean, "Okay, this is a red flag and this is a diagnosis." A pediatrician cannot make an autism diagnosis, so you do have to take that time to do all these different appointments and follow-ups, and, usually when you go for an autism diagnosis, you're going to either a pediatric neurologist or a developmental pediatrician, and a lot of times they wanna see reports from other people, so they wanna see a
Mhm.
physical therapy report, or an occupational therapy report, and this be so there are so much. It's unbelievable the amount of work you have to do just to even get to that appointment to see, okay, is this autism or not?
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we went to 3 different neuropsychs over the course of many years. And I mean, my son had the textbook obsession with Thomas. tank
Mm.
engine
Yeah.
trainings. And
Mhm.
so very early on, he had delays very, very young. And I kept calling early intervention, and they were like, oh, give it time, give it time, give it time. And then finally they
Yeah.
were like, oh, yeah, this is a problem. I'm like, yeah, I know. And it kind of continued in that vein. Over many years, it was like, no, 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 it's not that. 3 different neuropsychs at 3 different facilities, 3 different
Mm.
situations, all said no to ASD. And then finally, the school that he's currently in, it wasn't even a question. It wasn't even, I kind of gave up on
Mhm.
it because no one else seemed to be seeing what I was seeing,
Right.
and it was attributed to many other things, DMDD, ODD, all these different things. And the school that he's currently in, it was just, there was a treatment team meeting, and it was in passing in conversation. It was like, well, like many of our autistic students, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, doink, like what? And and I didn't want to say anything. I felt like I had hallucinated it because it was too good to be true. And then someone else said it, and I seriously kept quiet for several months because I was like, I don't know what to do, and I'm afraid to rock the boat in any way. And it just ha have to way too much PTSD. And then it was like they couldn't believe it was even a question.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's so subjective too
It
among, right? I mean, we're just
Yeah.
people. We're all just people, and we all have our own, I don't know, biases and different things that sort of tint our glasses, right? That we're
Right.
seeing the
Yeah.
world through. And it's not nefarious, it's just imperfection.
Yeah. But it's frustrating, like,
It's very
to have
frustrating.
like, just so many times going and asking and advocating and just it wears you down after a while when you don't get clarity, right? It's just
Well, it's a form of gaslighting too, when you're like, I'm looking in the DSM, I'm seeing all of these things,
right.
and you're telling me that I'm not seeing them, you know?
Yeah.
Or you're
That's
you're attributing it all to something else, but it's so clear. So I think parents of special needs children, whether it be children who are on the spectrum or other, I mean, there are a lot of disabilities that are a lot more or less nuanced, I guess, much easier to put your finger on. But
yeah.
I'm sure there are many other things that people have a difficult time having their kids diagnosed with.
Well, any diagnosis is pretty tough, uh,
It's tough
for
to
sure.
handle, but what's it's tough to have a child who has a need that is lifelong and challenging, but then to not be able to get them what they need because it's not being identified is a whole nother level of frustration and pain.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely is. There's so
Yeah.
much about autism that is I find like you said, extreme parenting, even advocating for certain medical even tests, like, there are children with autism who have difficulty potty training, and if you go to a pediatrician this has happened for parents I've worked with many times, go to the pediatrician and say, "My child keeps wetting themselves," and the doctor will just say something like, "Oh, that's just autism." And not even do the basic thing of, "Oh, let's do a urinary tract infection," like, let's
Right.
give some basic medical attention. No, with autism, and this is extremely frustrating, it just gets all written off, all lumped in
Mm.
any problem, any issue, behavior, biological, it's just, "Oh, that's autism," and then it becomes, like, hands off. Like, "Oh, there's
Right. And
nothing."
why is it hands off?
It
I
doesn't
mean,
make any
why is
sense.
it like, I give up? It's like,
No.
okay, maybe, but like, let's address it.
I was like, it makes no sense
It
whatsoever,
makes no
like,
sense.
from, like, a chemistry, like, when doctors do that, I'm just like, I just don't know. do not
Like,
understand it,
that's
and
not an
it
answer. Yeah.
no, it's not an answer, and for some reason with autism, it is acceptable to say, "Oh, that's just autism," right? For constipation, for diarrhea, for sleep problems, for potty training issues, for picky eating, for like, name it, and I'm sure
Mhm.
there's a parent out there who's been like, "Yeah, doctor told me, yeah, that's just autism."
Well,
And it's
also,
not.
emotional dysregulation, violence, destruction,
Yeah, it
all of
just,
it.
"Oh,
It's
that's
like,
just autism."
what are you
Like,
gonna do? It's like, not
no.
this.
No. Yes, exactly.
How
How is
about
it
not
fair?
this? Yeah,
It's not fair to that child and to that family, to the parents, to just throw up your hands and be like, "Oh,
throw
that's
your hands
autism."
up.
It's that's just and that's the advice that I got when my daughter was diagnosed, that it typically gets worse, not better. And that's true of
Mm,
anything if you don't look at it, understand it, and give the body what it needs. That is true of anything whatsoever.
yeah,
And that was the part where I was like, "No, I don't accept that." So I just went into PubMed. I just used all my academic training and was like, "All right, I need to understand what autism is because nobody's telling me what it is. They're telling me what it looks like, right? It looks like problems. It looks like, someone not engaging, someone not talking. Like you're telling me what it looks like, but that's not what it is." So, that that is where I had to go to really understand on a chemistry level, like, okay, what's going on? And
right,
there are so many things that can make a difference. There's so much research out there that just never really gets talked about, discussed about, and doctors, they're not getting this information because typically it's pharmaceutical industries and companies that push this cutting edge information into doctors. They do that
mhm,
with their own bias, right? Because they more than likely develop some type of drug that has
right. There's a profit to be made.
there's a profit, but there's also benefit, right? To get
Right,
typically
right.
there has to be some kind of benefit. So there's a product, there's a benefit, there's revenue, which means you can employ different people to go out there and educate the doctors, which then means the doctors say, "Oh, you have a question? I can answer that, because I learned about it at, this conference, this lunch and learn." And that is how the pharmaceutical and the healthcare industry operates. It's not optimal or ideal, right? Because it's now driven by profit. And that's always the concern, right? Your doctor's giving you something based upon profit. But in the case of autism, there's no profit whatsoever. And that's why you don't have that education piece of the doctors
Right.
because
Because there
there's
isn't that drive.
yeah, there's no revenue to
Right.
put all of that material together to have someone go into that doctor's office and explain the cutting edge research and the clinical trial that was just done and the benefit that was seen. It's not there. And so that's why when you go to a doctor and ask them autism questions, it's like, "Ugh."
Right. Yeah.
Then yeah. So you gotta go to PubMed, which not many people enjoy doing. I have to say I rather enjoy it, so that
So
was
tell me about PubMed because I'll tell you what, I have, because my son was misdiagnosed so many times, I know more about bipolar, ADHD, DMDD, ODD than I ever wanted to. And I mean, I had a stack of books that was taller than me.
I believe
And
you.
And I kept going back to autism, even though they kept telling me that that's not what it was. And now you're only the second source that I've heard about methylfolate from.
Mm, okay. Alright, well,
So,
there's a
and
lot. There's a lot to
that
learn.
that's like that's my mind too. I mean, I don't have the background at all that you do, but I tend to be like, okay, well, let's get to the root of it.
Yes.
What's the cause? What's the fix? What's the structural like reason? And can we get in there and fix it?
Yes.
And
Yes, yes, yes.
because
And
I
we're
was
not
on so
talking
many
about, like, fixing your son, his character, who he
no, no,
is.
no. But
We're
if
we're
there's a
talking about
nutrient deficiency, if there's a That's what I mean by fixing it. Create
Yeah.
balance where there is an imbalance.
Yeah, health.
And then
Exactly.
just be as good as you can be, right? Like I have asthma.
Right.
I'll never not have asthma. But there are things that I can do to keep myself more in balance. And there are things that throw me off.
Right.
That's what I
Yep.
yeah, not
Yeah.
not that
Yep.
not that people or kids need fixing, just
Right, right,
that
right.
what can
Yep.
we do to get to be at homeostasis?
Well, so that there's no barriers. I'm sure you've seen there are times where your son wants to do something, or maybe he's doing something and he doesn't want to be doing that, right? And usually that's the negative behaviors. That is what focusing on health addresses. It allows a child to move into those dreams, to have those dreams and be like, I want to go to, this high school. I want to do this, right? A lot of times we see our kids look kind of like wishingly at other kids doing
Mm,
things. And that is what autism, this AWETISM is how do we focus on the health so that a kid can go do whatever they want to do? That's the
yes.
important part. And so I think
Yeah.
the first so for me, the turning point was and now this was 13 years ago. The turning point was when I started going into the research was back then, there was a publication that showed 10% of kids on the autism spectrum lost their diagnosis. They called it an optimal outcome, and the kids didn't need speech therapy or OT or PT. They didn't need a TA in school. They could play sports. Like if you put them in front of you, they would not qualify for an autism diagnosis, right? Which means behavior, like observation, behavior. You would not
Right.
see anything that would make you think, oh, autism. And so
Mhm.
I read that and was very intrigued, right? Because I had been told it only gets worse, not better, right?
Right.
So here's 10%, which some people say, oh, that's a small number, that's difficult. For me, 10% is that 10% is
Hope.
10%, right? Yeah,
10% is
exactly.
hope.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not 1%. This is not like a one off. This is
Well,
10.
and after you've had the bony finger of the ghost of Christmas future, like pointing at the bleakness of them getting older, it's like 10% is sign me up.
Yes, 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 yes. It's worth being like, okay, I need to learn more about that. And so
Yeah.
that's really where I started in that publication, talking to the scientists, understanding optimal outcome. 10 years later, so in 2023, new research was published from Boston Children's Hospital, and that showed 37% of kids with an autism diagnosis lost that diagnosis. Meaning they could go and do what they want in life, right? They had their dreams and they didn't need PT, speech therapy. They didn't need any of those additional supports to reach those goals. And so that's what parents need to know are the possibilities, right? So it doesn't have to get worse. Many times it does, but it doesn't have to. And it really becomes the responsibility of the parent, which we do not need. I did not want this. I kind of fought it for a while too, but it's like, wow, I really have to be the driver of this ship. Like this I cannot I wish I could just kind of sit back and I don't know, go to a doctor and they would know everything what to do and
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
just not like that. The parents have to be so involved because autism is so different. So what works for one child is not necessarily going to work for another. So it gets back to what you were mentioning about, okay, what is the cause, right? So it's like, all right, we know that autism is not a lifelong diagnosis for everybody. Okay, so that's well established scientific fact. Now it becomes, all right, we can understand what risk factors are because there's nothing out there, there's no research publication that says this is what causes autism. And I think it's going to be very unlikely for there to be one thing that's going to explain all of autism. And that's what people are really wanting, one answer to explain autism. And I think that's just very difficult. So
Well, it's like
there
one answer to explain cancer, right? It's like
yeah. it's too big. It's like
It's
there's
too
it's
big.
too
It's
too
too
many
big and too
reasons.
complicated.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah, well, you can't get one answer to explain it all. So that's when it becomes, "All right, let me understand the health, the chemistry of my child. So, are there gut issues? Are there gut infections? Are there different toxins? Are there" lead exposure is a legitimate risk factor to autism. Legitimate, right? So we're
Right.
talking about doing things that aren't necessarily hugely controversial in the beginning, right? When things
Mm-hmm.
start to get a little controversial when you're talking about leucovorin, autoantibodies in the brain, methylfolate. Believe it or not, that doesn't seem like it should be so controversial, but for some reason, like anything relating to autism somehow gets very controversial quickly. Mitochondria, for some reason, that gets very controversial. And I'm not exactly sure why, but there are different
Me either.
aspects to there are different
Like,
aspects to health that are not working optimally for certain children with autism. And so the whole process is, all right, let me do different functional medicine lab tests. Let me
mm-hmm.
quantify. So I have a number. So I have something that I can look and measure and quantify change, right? All of that. And then you step in there and you do some therapy, right? Whatever that is, whether it's behavioral or whether it is also something like supplements, prescriptions, things like that. And then you measure change. It's very straightforward. It just takes a lot of effort.
And it's different pieces.
Yeah.
It's it's. I mean, anyone with a chronic illness would probably agree that there are a bunch of different things that need to come together in order for them to have optimal health. And
Yes.
if one
Yes.
or two of those things isn't available or falls away or whatever, things start to get shaky.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why, like, when I talk to parents and it's like they'll tell me a story of like this one day where their child was exactly kind of like who they know their child to be. It's like, "Oh, that one day he did blah, 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 blah,"
Mhm.
and that is legitimately their child. They got that
Yes.
short little snapshot, but then all these other days, right? This is where your analogy with chronic health comes in, where it's like, okay, maybe they didn't sleep well the next night. Maybe they didn't eat well for the past 6 months, right? Let's
Right.
be honest, sometimes picky eating gets very extreme, right? And so then
Mhm.
things really start to compound, and
Mhm.
that's the problem, but for any autism parent who has seen that window, that snapshot, and you say to yourself, "Why why aren't they like that every day? I don't
Right.
understand." And then we get this, like, gnawing feeling like, "Okay, we know they're in there, but
Right.
there's just so many blocks and so much difficulties."
Yep. And as a
Yeah.
parent, don't you feel like they're so I know they're in there and it's my job to get in there and get through and rescue that kid that's behind all these things, right? Like that's getting hijacked from being their true selves.
Yes. Yes, it is. It becomes I mean, it's that's really what motivates me is for my daughter when we were going through that, it was just like, this is my responsibility as a parent. So I try not to take on too many responsibilities. I only have one child. That is all I could handle, and that it's my duty, right? Like, that's what you sign up for when you become a parent, and I had no idea parenting was gonna be like this and require so much of me from, like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, in every which way, but that's parenting, you know? It yeah,
It's extreme parenting, which
yeah.
brings me back to what you were saying before about I didn't like this is the sole reason I do what I do and this was not like
This was
a
not the plan.
goal of mine. This was not the
Nope.
plan. And um being an autism parent is there's so much um to it that most people don't understand and people are very kind and say things like, "Oh, you're amazing. I don't know how you do it." And it's like I'm really not. I just have no choice,
Well,
like,
and
I'm
yeah.
I'm please don't give me a sainthood. I really if you gave me 2 choices, I would definitely choose the easier one. Like, I wanna be a
Definitely.
slacker, I just can't.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
see, that's a loving parent, though, because some parents will just be like, "I don't wanna deal with this."
I
And
don't know
which I
any, and I'm like,
understand. I don't
I
wanna
don't know
deal with.
any. I know special needs parents, and we're all like, "We're Gen X. We were supposed to be the slacker generation. We are the least slacker generation there ever was."
Yeah, it yeah, it's
It's
yeah,
a
many
lot.
many times I didn't know. So in my mind, we all have those moments where it's like, I've got nothing left. Like,
Nothing
there's
beyond
my tank is
fumes.
empty. I have no more patience. I have no more
Mm-mm.
energy. I have 0
Fully
0
out. Yeah.
everything. And those are the times where you have to just dig in.
Cry. Or cry.
At nighttime, I would cry, definitely. There are times where I would do child's pose. I would just kind of, like,
Oh
curl
my
up into
god.
a
I
ball.
I got to where I
Just
couldn't take yoga classes anymore because I was such a mat. I'm like, the second we go into Shavasana or like child's pose, I'm just sobbing on a mat. I'm like, please don't pay any attention to me. I just came here to sob and then I'll be on my way.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, during the day, what I would tell myself is, because when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, but that was when women were not
Holy
allowed to be Navy
moly.
SEAL. So,
Wow.
there's a few times where, I mean, literally, I had nothing left to give. I couldn't even pretend. You know how, like, you have nothing left to give, but then you have that energy to, "Okay, let me pretend I have patience. Let me
Oh
pretend I
yeah.
have compassion,"
Yeah.
right?
Pretend
I
yeah.
exhausted all of that, and it was just, "Alright, time to be Navy SEAL." Like, that's all you could. So
No,
I
I'm
just
sorry. Navy SEALs could learn from us. I'll go the opposite route. I feel like Navy SEALs would be on their freaking knees some days in our lives. Just saying.
it's it's a tough, it definitely is tough. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I used whatever I needed to in that moment. So, I mean, that's the thing, what a parent needs to kinda just get through that day, and sometimes that is all you're doing, is just, "Let me get to nighttime," and sometimes nighttime, I have to say, is not even peaceful or restful, right? So sometimes
No.
it's just like this grind, and
Yeah.
it definitely can be wearing, but that's where then you have to get determined and be like, "Alright, I need to figure out what the cause is, because I can't do this for
Yeah.
years and years and years.
Ever.
I gotta figure out how
Yeah.
to stop this." And so, like,
Yep.
that's also where, like, the fierce determination came from. It was like, "Right, what is autism? What are my options? Like, I'm not being told what they are, so I've gotta really go out and understand them."
Yeah, and meanwhile, as you're doing this work and as you're trying to figure things out, the gap between your child's abilities and society's expectations is getting bigger and bigger, and it feels like you're dismantling a bomb with the timer counting down, you know? It's so stressful.
Can I share something I've learned about that gap, that widening?
Yeah, please.
So I've worked with, like, thousands of parents, hundreds of parents. I've worked with parents in 22 different countries, all focusing on how do we get their child's health so that, other things kind of fall into place. And what I've seen many, many times is that gap, it seems to be so far, but the kids are learning all along. So we see the gap as like, oh, just growing, growing, growing. But it's really more like this. And then when the kids can communicate, well, a lot of times they jump ahead.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I
so
have seen that in my own experience.
yes,
I mean, it was years where it was like this, and then all of a
yes.
sudden
Yeah, but you
it
didn't
course
give up.
corrected.
You didn't get, yeah, yes. See, and I mean, this is the thing about autism. You can cross that line and get to the other side. So
Course
it feels
correct.
like the child is so far behind. But that's why it's so important to just presume competence and keep talking to your child at age level appropriateness, which is really hard to do, right? If they have a fixation on some type of cartoon or something like that. But I always say, you know what? If you looked at my TikTok, you would probably be like, "What are you doing? You're just zoning out," right? Like
Right.
that's the train. That's my, like cartoon.
Right.
We all have something like that where we're just like,
Yeah.
"All right, I'm just gonna
Self-soothe or
tune
whatever.
things
Yeah.
out." Yeah, I just need
Yeah.
to zone out and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's just important not to limit what we think the child is learning based upon what they can express. Because when you work on their health and they're able to express, then you realize, "Oh my goodness. Like, how did they know this? How did they know that?" They start
Yes,
taking
and it's been there all along.
all along,
And
all along.
that's
So yes, 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 yes. If any parent listening who feels their child is falling behind hugely, nope, just keep on working, keep educating, and when you get health going, then
yes.
catch up is possible and even surpassing.
Yes, and
Yes.
the catch up happens so quickly and
Yes, and it's
so I
not,
mean, it feels sudden because all of a sudden it's like, "Oh my god, what
"How are we here?"
have you known this all along? What's going on?"
Yes, 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 and that's so important for autism parents to know, but it's
Yeah,
grueling, right? Like,
it's grueling, and it
it's grueling.
feels hopeless on some days.
It does,
It
and that's
really
why
feels
you can't give up. You can't.
right. Everybody says this, and then I know myself and other parents are like, "Yeah, when? How?" But, like, you need to take space for yourself. You need to
Definitely.
give yourself a break somehow,
Yep.
somehow.
Well,
And
that's what I learned. So there's something called learned helplessness. And so if we as parents are always kind of stepping in and helping our child, they don't have that ability to figure it out, do it on themselves and start to get that independent thinking like, I'm going to do it. I do this. I want to do that. So a lot of times self-care for the parent starts by just taking a step back in some of these like repetitive daily tasks. And it might take the child twice as long, three times as long, four times as long as when you can do it yourself, right? Like, so zipping up a jacket or putting on the shoes, right? We can do it in 15 seconds, right? But if we take that time and say, all right, let's let them work on that. And I'm going to make a cup of tea, right? Like that's where the self-care starts for an autism parent. It doesn't start in these huge like weekend breaks or, girls' night every month or, something like that.
right, it's moments, yeah.
It's really small. I remember for me, it started with, all right, I'm going to take a 5-minute walk, right? Like just to
Mm,
walk around the block. And then it was like, this is really good. I am a better parent when I just like breathe a little bit, right? We get into our whole nervous system and stuff like that. We can't be all
mhm.
amped up. We could talk about PTSD diagnosis for parents of kids with autism and emotional dysregulation. So there's a 20 to 30% increase of a PTSD diagnosis from having a child with autism and emotional dysregulation. So it's very serious about the pressures that we are under, the experiences we have, our nervous system just not really having that time to unwind, for the trauma to be continuing, and also for us not to give ourselves time really to process that. So there's so much that goes into caring for a child with autism, and the science is clear, right? So starting with self-care is really important, but it starts small, really small.
Yeah. I think at my lowest point, it it was the relentlessness of it, the the just knowing that I'm in the foxhole all day, every day, for possibly forever,
Right.
and I think that it's so daunting when you kinda pick your head up from just getting through the day and look forward and just see more of the same that it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And just going back to what you had said about you can't give up because those gains do happen and they happen quickly. And sometimes when you're least expecting them, that I wish I had known that at my lowest point because
Mm.
I, I remember just thinking, like, I can't live in this space forever. I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be the motivation, of like, I'm not willing to live life like
Right.
this. Like, this is not parenting. This is not what I signed up for. This is not even anything close to what I thought was humanly possible for a parent-child relationship, right? I mean,
Yep.
there's some
Yeah.
days where it's just like, "What? I just this" and so you can take that anger and it can stew and become despair and then you're hopeless, or you can take that anger and be like, "No, we need to figure this out." Like this and I mean, think about it
There's
on
got to
from
be
your
a solution.
yeah, from your
Yeah.
child's perspective too. It's like, I'm sure they don't want to live life like this. Like this
No.
this is not what they want. Um, so that's really the choices that's the fork in the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about, I mean, I'm on this parent group on Facebook in my community, and occasionally I'll respond to a younger parent who's going through something with a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and I'll say, "Hey, I've been there. 3 is the hardest. They hit 4 and it's like a switch flips and they're suddenly reasonable, and not that there aren't any tantrums after that, but, I remember going through 3 with my twins, and it was just like I would crawl into bed every night like, "Oh my god, this is insane." And then they turned 4 and they were out of it. But with a kid on the spectrum, it's like being in the 3s for years and
Mhm.
and never knowing if you'll ever get out of them.
Yeah.
And society doesn't really take too well to a 12-year-old who acts like a 3-year-old, you know?
Yeah, especially
So,
the meltdowns. So
the
so
meltdowns, the crash
yeah.
outs, and in my
Yep.
case, I have a black boy, and America turns black boys into black men when they're
Mhm.
11, 12 years old. So
Right.
if you have a child who's crashing out and society views them as a threat, boy,
Yeah.
are you trying to dismantle a bomb before the timer goes off,
Yeah.
Like, when I finally would go to bed at night, I would just lay there like this and think like, how am I going to solve this? How am I going to solve this? I have to solve this, which, doesn't make for a great night's sleep. And
No.
then I would just start all over again in the morning. It was like a terrible cycle.
Yeah. Yep. So what do you think was the turning point for you?
For me personally, it was having a break, having support, having my son go to a
Mhm.
therapeutic school that really knew what they were doing, getting that reassurance too that, oh no, yeah, he is on the spectrum. We've been
Mm,
saying it for 13 years and you were right,
yeah,
like, because you do start to feel a little crazy and feel a little like, okay, I guess I don't know anything. I guess I
right.
can't trust my own judgment or my own perception.
Yeah.
So just having people that know, that have a lot of experience say, oh no, we see this, you're right, and we know how to deal with it. You don't have to be the go-to Like my son was in special ed in first grade, and the special ed teacher would call me, no joke, 1 to 2 times a day
Oh, those school
and
calls.
ask me what to do. I'm like, what? You're asking the wrong person, lady. I was looking to you. And she would be so frustrated and fed up with him. And I'm like, Listen, I'm a comedian. I don't know the first thing about how to answer your questions. You're supposed to be the expert.
Yeah.
So it was bleak, let me tell you. Bleak.
It's unbelievable how many times that has happened. I'm sure it's more than once where you were
No,
were
seriously. 5 between 5 and 8 calls a week.
Mm,
Like, in that 6-hour window of, like, this is my time, right, where I
right.
can
Yep.
get like, have my own thoughts and, like, get stuff done, and then I'd just be called. I mean, that also, just the phone ringing became like a
It
trigger
it did. I'm sure. Yeah.
because you
It
just the minute you see it's the school, you're like, "Fuck." You know? It ain't good, I'll tell you that. Nobody's being like, "We're having a great day. Just want to call and let you know."
No.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It just and I really like I jump when, I get calls from the school. I still do it even though now they're good, now they're not good, but now they're normal. Now they're just
Sure.
like administrative questions or
Right.
just normal things, not
But
just to like
that's
chew my ear off.
yeah, that's so okay, so we talked about the PTSD diagnosis, increase in parents. And so the other research that just came out in 2025 was a small clinical trial of 7 parents, and they had PTSD diagnosis from having a child with autism and emotional dysregulation. And they did EMDR for 5 to 7 sessions, and all 7 parents lost their PTSD diagnosis.
Wow.
Yes, and it was 5 moms and 2 dads, and then to go a step further, nothing in this clinical trial, nothing was done to the child, but yet they had follow-up questionnaires about the child, and it was in about half of them, the children were better regulated just because the parent
The
was better
parents were better
regulated.
regulated.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, I know that experience of for me, even back then, that, like, the phone would ring, it didn't ma like, just like, ringing or, the buzzing of the vibration, it's just that would get like, I would feel
Yep.
it before I even looked to see who it was, but it was like any call, I was like, "Oh, oh," and, so I have now done 3 EMDR sessions because I learned that research and I was like, "You know what? I've been through a lot, and I don't know if I have a PTSD diagnosis, but in my case, I I just wanna feel good. Like, I wanna feel
Yeah.
good again. I wanna feel, like, at peace. I wanna feel just like, sometimes, like, you're just so frayed, I guess, inside is one
Yes.
way to explain it. So
Yeah.
I read that research and I was like, "I'm going to do EMDR because I just wanna feel better," and I yeah. So I've done 3 sessions now, and I've gotta say, it's been really helpful. Like,
Wow. That's good to
really
know.
helpful. Yeah, and I'm working online with a therapist, and they're not even in person. It's pretty easy to do. I'm just following a ball, going back and forth on my laptop. But
I
it's
did it
really
years ago, but I held to it was in person and I held these devices that would
right.
vibrate alternately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So
it was very helpful for one particular thing, but I haven't done it since.
yeah, so for me, I picked the ball going back and forth just because I felt like
Mm.
that you can also do for online, you can also do audio or you can do tapping. So, like,
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
just
You can even
tapping.
do that for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the bilateral stuff. But for me, I chose the ball going back and forth, and it's really good, and what I didn't know about EMDR is well, I didn't know anything, and I mean, I'm so glad I'm doing it, but you also process the traumatic stuff, which is, like, wild. We could talk for a long time about that.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
also strengthen the positive experiences that you've had, because when you have so much trauma, that's just what I don't know, just kinda, like, takes up your experience, right? It
Yes, and
dominates.
almost like plays in a loop in your, because you just want to be safe. Like your body and your mind, they just want you to feel safe. So they're warning you to be on high alert because nothing's safe.
Yes, and so one thing EMDR does, and it depends on your therapist and all of this, but one thing that EMDR does is it augments those those memories of when you were safe, of those beneficial memories, of
Mm.
those good times, and so it's really I really like it. I plan to do at least 10. So, like, that was my
Oh,
goal, right? Let
wow.
me do 10. The research, that clinical trial was they did about, I think it was like 7 or so, but I was like, "Yeah, let's just do 10. That's a good number." And
Being the overachiever that you are.
what can I say? I own it. So, but I have been surprised by the whole experience. I've been surprised at the ease of it, because like, in talk therapy, it's like, I don't know, like, I've done that, and it's good to I find it's good to have people to bounce ideas off of when you're in the stress, but it doesn't help complete that loop that's going over and over
Yes.
and over and over again.
The body response, like the startle reflex and the I don't feel
Yes.
that it
Oh my
helps
goodness.
with that.
So the Body Keeps the Score is an amazing book, and so
I've read
EMDR
it.
helps with that, and also the traumatic release exercises, the shaking. I don't
Yes.
I've done that too, just, like, exploring these different things. I've always wanted to, why can't I just program my subconscious, like, the way I want it to be?
Right.
And
Like,
I
why can't
feel
we
like
just have that matrix plug in the back of our head and be like, "Tweet, tweet, tweet. Okay, now I know jujitsu." Yeah.
like,
It's
this
like,
is
now I
the
feel calm.
program I want. Yeah, it
Right.
doesn't.
Totally.
But so I think EMDR and things like TRE and some like trauma-informed yoga really get into that space in our minds that are hard to get to, hard to access, where we
Mm.
have those like repetitive, like, okay, things are going well in school, but when the phone rings, where does your mind automatically go? It goes back into that
Yeah,
traumatic
you
event
you're
of like, oh my
dropped
God.
right down.
Yeah.
Yes, you're back in it.
Even though you tell yourself, like, I know, but, like, the brain just whoop, it just takes over, and so that's the reason why I wanted to do EMDR, where it was like, I just wanna be more in control and more just like, that stuff is the past, and I wanna leave it in the past, and
Yes.
but also not negate it. So it's like I still have
Yes.
the memories of it, I just don't have that charge to it anymore, so.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And for me, now I know you said you described it as a frayed feeling, which have felt that as well. But I feel like I felt that. And then after some healing, I feel very locked down,
Mm,
like
okay.
for like bat shields up, and it's like,
Yeah.
I just want the bat shields to relax, you know?
Oh, got you.
Yeah. So that
You're,
sounds
like, in
good.
defense mode, ready for,
Yeah.
like, what's next. Oh, yeah.
Not
Okay.
willingly or necessarily
Yes! Yes, yes,
consciously,
yes.
but
Yep, yep,
just
yep, yep.
I can
Yeah,
feel it?
yeah.
So it's like nothing's getting in.
Yeah, 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 I want more peace. I want more just, like, ease. I wanna just unwind a lot of stuff that was there,
Mhm.
that was needed. I did what I had to do. I was on alert. Like, there are times where you have to be on alert because things were
Mhm.
actually happening. You couldn't just, like,
Mhm.
sit back and be like, "Well, I need to relax my nervous system." Like, that's not an
Right.
option.
Right.
But
But when you think about stories of veterans, right? It's right now I'm in combat and I'm a sniper and I need to lay on this building and like have hyper focus. But it's like, but now I'm home in my living room and I
yeah,
just want to enjoy my life.
yeah, that
And it's
vigilance.
it's the same
Yeah,
feeling. It's like you want to be able to just switch that vigilance off, but
yeah.
something about our brains, it doesn't come so easily.
Well, good, that's because autism parents are in it for so long, like,
Mhm.
years, and so
And
it's.
also, there isn't I mean, you're still with the same person who, even though they're not the same because they're constantly evolving and growing, I
Right.
it's not like you left Baghdad, like, you're still here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. Yep.
So, it can still be, there's a pattern recognition that happens with the same person and maybe the same start of a bad experience, but it's not going to be a bad experience this time, but your brain is like, "Wait, I know
Yeah.
this. This doesn't go
Yep.
well."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. So I'm a big advocate for EMDR and a big advocate for the research, right? Because I would not be doing EMDR if I didn't know the research and how it relates to
right.
autism, parenting. And then, I didn't know anything about EMDR. So I studied that and was like, oh, that's like a gold standard approach to PTSD. Okay. So that's legit. All right. And that's how knowing the science, and having comfortable with making decisions based upon science, right? Like I didn't talk to any doctors about it. It was more just like, oh, all right. I think this all makes sense. What's the downside? So that's like the thought process we have to have for ourselves or for our children when we're dealing with something, and then we want to optimize it.
That's what I like so much about your approach, about the content. Your content and your website is that it's all data driven and it's accessible to someone who isn't a
Thank you.
scientist. Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
really. And uh, like I said, I read more books that I didn't want to read than I ever thought I would, and and I would like to forget them. Um, but a lot of things that I was reading, I'm like, I don't like, I don't have the background to be
Mhm.
reading this, and so it's so nice to hear it and read it and listen to someone who does have the background and can break it down and make it more accessible to the layman, you know, to the parent who's like, up to their eyeballs right now and just needs, can bring it
Keep
down
it
to brass
simple.
tacks for me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. I that
Yeah.
that that was the goal to really teach the science, but to understand that autism parents are exhausted because I was the same way. And it's just helped me think about what the cutting edge research is so I can make good decisions.
Yeah. And I feel like there are also just so many, I mean, we have tried everything. Like, seriously, almost no stone unturned. Any stone that I came across and know about, I mean, not that there aren't things I don't know, but anything that I came across, it was like, okay, let's try that. Let's try this. Let's try that. But it was just desperation and um not not data driven. It was
Yeah.
anecdotal or it was like, what do we have to lose type of,
Yeah.
approach. So it's just nice to see reading that on your website that 37%, I mean, out of the Boston study, right? That
Right. Yep.
37% of children had lost their autism diagnosis. It was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That number is really high. I mean, when I started, it was 10%. Now it's 37%. So I really want that information to get out there so that parents can put that hope on their child, but base that hope in science. And so then
Right. And something not just,
yeah,
pie in
blind
the
hope.
sky kind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
involve logic, involve science. Like there's obviously something going on in their child's body that is causing XYZ, whatever it is
Hmm.
those that is being seen. And it's really just unraveling it and figuring it out and looking at health in a much different way and being meticulous and not giving up.
Yeah. Amen to not giving up.
Yeah. Even
Well,
if
it
you
has
want
been
to.
so, yeah. Even if there are
Even
many
if you
days
want
that you
to.
want to. Many days. And on those days, you take a walk.
Yes,
You
exactly. Take a walk, you
you
call a friend, you just pass the
you
time
shut
until
the
you can go
door
to
and
sleep.
cry, you do whatever you
Yes,
have to do.
yes. Sometimes cry,
Yeah,
sometimes journal, sometimes go have a therapy session.
yeah.
So you just I did boxing, so there were times
Yeah, I was
where I
just gonna
just
oh
needed
my
to go
gosh, you
box.
read my mind. I was just gonna say, I have a boxing bag in my basement. Sometimes you just
Yep,
need to hit something.
sometimes. Yeah,
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 sometimes you
sometimes you
need to
need
go
that.
for a run.
Yep,
Sometimes you need to blast the music in your headphones and hit the treadmill and go
there
as fast as you can and
exactly.
cry at the same time.
Definitely. Just exhaust yourself, and then you're like, "Alright, I'm ready to go again."
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that was a good reset. Let's get
Yep,
back to
yeah,
business.
yeah. Just and have many different ways to reset because 'cause you're gonna need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing your
Sure.
wisdom and encouragement. I
My
can't
pleasure.
wait to jump into EMDR, look more into it,
Oh, yeah,
and um,
definitely. Keep me posted. Keep me
yeah,
posted.
I will. And for everyone out there, please go to autism, AWETISM.net. It's a great resource. Dr. Teresa Lyons, thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
If you like the show, please rate, review, and share on social media. Strangers with Kittens is produced by Ashley Aker and recorded in front of a live audience of dogs.